Welcome back. This is baseball from where I sit. Just want to go over a few more things today. I am a little late getting to this today. It's about 10 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast, but I had other things to do today, and I'm going to go through that at some point later on. Tell you what I'm doing besides this. But anyway, so games got underway yesterday. There was a game on Wednesday between the Dodgers and the Cubs, but yesterday there were a few more games, and one of the first things that came the out of any news from spring training was the Yankees' facial hair policy. Of course, if you probably know, most people probably know the Yankees had virtually no facial hair. There was mustaches. I can remember players wearing mustaches, but basically clean cut and short hair and all of that. Well, now the Yankees have stepped up into the 21st century and now beards. Nothing long or nothing like ZZ Top or anything, but closely cropped beards that'll look good. And I'm glad they've done that because other teams have always had that. There's really no policy as far as facial hair. So the Yankees are back where everybody else is, and it probably makes it even easier to sign some players. And so anyway, after that, I heard that on the one of the games I was watching. But then later I was watching the Padres play, and I like to listen to, especially like to listen to the announcers, and there was an announcer on there. I'm thinking, who is that? What I recognize that voice, and I thought, gee, that sure sounds a lot like Tony Gwynn. Well, of course it's not because Tony Gwynn has passed away. But guess what? It was Tony Gwynn Jr. He sounds just like his father, and it was kind of great to hear that voice. I don't know how long he's been with them. If this is his first year, and maybe he's just kind of trying out or getting his feet wet here in spring training. But it was great to hear that voice, and he was. I think he was a pretty decent player when he played. Probably not anywhere near his father or close to his father, but how many players were close to Tony Gwynn Sr.? Not many. Anyway, it was great to hear his voice. It's uncanny how much their voices are similar. Something else that I was reading a newsletter from the Red Sox, and they talked about, well, I'll call it the Red Sox triangle. Um, Christian Campbell, who is a second baseman, maybe their top prospect, and has a chance to maybe make the Red Sox this season, a more than fair chance to make the team. And that's one side of the triangle. And Alex Bregman, the newly signed Alex Bregman, is the other side. And Rafael Devers isn't the other side of the triangle. Well, with Bregman and Devers, got two third basemen. I think that Bregman is probably the better of the two defensively, but as far as hitting goes, I mean, you'd take either one of them, wouldn't you? So the thought was Devers stays at third base and Bregman maybe goes to second base, and and things would be fine. But now enter Christian Campbell. He has a chance to make the team. He is a second baseman. So now where does Alex Bregman go? Does he go to third? And if he does, where does Rafael Devers go? They're talking maybe DHing, but I don't know. I think he needs to be on the field somewhere. My thought would be first base, and they've got a young guy there, Tristan Casas. So it's interesting to see how they'll deal with it, how the players will deal with it, how the club will deal with it. If it becomes an issue, hopefully it doesn't. The Red Sox this year, I think, have a really good chance of challenging it for a playoff spot. Maybe even better than that. Maybe even first place in the division. They've improved that much. I think they have, anyways. So we'll see how that comes out. The next thing, automated ball strike system. I don't know if I talked about this at all yesterday. ABS for short. So what that is it's not a full-fledged uh, hawkeye watching the balls and strikes and making the determination if a pitch is a ball or a strike. It's it will be Hawkeye will be running in the background. The umpires, as usual, will be calling balls and strikes. But a player, either a batter or the pitcher or the catcher, can challenge a called ball or strike. All they have to do is tap their head, and they'll go take a look at it. And it's actually quite good if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But on in the park, I guess it'll be on any big screen they have, and they'll show it, and right away they'll say yes, it's been overturned or confirmed. Um, and they also show, at least the ones that I've seen, when a pitch has been out of the strike zone, say an umpire calls a strike, and the batter challenges it, as Johan Santana did today, and it it was they showed 1.9 inches out of the strike zone. Well, of course, it's overturned. Now, um, they've said that'll Major League Baseball says it's going to take about 17 seconds, and I don't think any of them have taken that long. The ones I've seen have been 10 to 15 seconds. And the thing about that, now you get each team gets two challenges per game, but you retain your challenge if you're right, if the batter or the pitcher or the catcher is right. So I can see that being used fairly regularly. The thought was that, oh, we'll save that until an important point of the game. But some of these guys, like Johan Santana today, he knows the strike zone. He's very good at it. And there's lots of major league players like that. So if it's out of the strike zone, they'll be just, and it's called a strike. They'll just onto their head and they'll check it, and more often than not, they'll be right. I would really like to see, especially the batters, when they ask for that call, what the numbers will be, what the percentage of overturned calls will be when a batter challenges. I I only saw, I think, just one pitcher yesterday or on Friday that that asked. That was very early on in the Dodgers Cubs game, and he was right too. The pitcher was right. I don't know how much the catchers will call it. Maybe they will, but there were a number of calls or challenges today, Saturday, and they weren't right every time, but I think that it's going to be very high, probably 80 or 90%. And the good batters like a guy like Santana, he's going to be right virtually every time. Something else I saw today, which kind of made me feel good, and I'm older, so I can remember this, the Montreal Expos, and so today pitching for the Washington Nationals was Marquis Grissom Jr. He pitched an inning. He hit the first guy up. I think he hit him on the second pitch, but then he threw a 6-4-3 double play and then a 6-3 ground out in the ninth inning. He got the save in a 6-3 win for the Houston Astros, and it's over the Houston Astros. And so it's interesting to look. The Expos drafted Marquis Grissom Sr. in 1988. He was a 76th pick overall. He was a great player in the major leagues. He played with the Expos from 89 to 94, and he was in the major leagues from 89 to 2005. He was part of that Expos team that many of us here in Canada lament the strike shortened 1994 season that um, that the Expos were such a good team, and woulda, shoulda, coulda, maybe won the World Series. They of course the season was canceled because of a strike, but Expos fans will forever remember that. And so it's interesting that now Marquis Grissom Jr. he gets drafted by the Nationals, who were the Expos, and he was drafted in the 2022 draft. And I don't know if that he spent any time with the team yet, but he had a good inning, and who knows, one day maybe he'll be there as well. Um, another one I saw today that I really enjoyed. There's some guys coming into the league, and one of them, these young guys that are coming along, and one guy today or that came in recently is Ellie Dela Cruz, and I just think he's a fabulous baseball player. And there's getting to be a lot of these guys that I see, anyways. They're they're big, tall guys and they can run and they can catch and they can throw, and they you would almost think they'd be pitchers because they're tall or like lanky pitchers, but Ellie Dela Cruz is playing shortstop. Another guy I can think of is O'Neill Cruz, who was at shortstop and now he's in center field for the Pirates. But Dela Cruz today, 2 for 2, 2 home runs against Cleveland, and of course he came out of the game as it's early in spring training. Uh, he's going to be a wonderful player. I can't wait to see what happens in his career. And the talk of the free agency, Juan Soto, first at bat today, a home run for the Mets, 426-foot home run. Good for him. Good for him. It's going to be tough playing in New York, although he knows that, having played with the Yankees last year. But I like Juan Soto. He's got some personality, and that's something that's really needed in professional sports. Uh, Too often now athletes are just, they're kind of robotic almost. They don't want to say anything wrong. They won't say poop if their mouth is full of it. But Juan Soto, he's got some moxie. I like that. Another thing I really like about we're moving on. Another thing I really like about baseball and all sports actually is uniforms. That to me that's part of what drew me to the game. I mean, uniforms, stadiums, logos, nicknames, all that kind of stuff. Ephemera, if you will, of baseball. And I really today like seeing the Colorado Rockies. They had a purple hat on, and they've always had purple in their uniform, but it's been paired with black, and it's been more black. And what they were wearing today, now spring training, so it's different. But a purple hat and a purple jersey, just fabulous as far as I was concerned. And I hope that becomes something that they'll continue to wear and promote is the color purple rather than black. Just brightness to the sport. In that same vein, the best looking game today, in my opinion, was San Diego Padres and the Athletics. Those two uniforms are, are great. The ones they were wearing, the spring uniforms they were wearing today, the Padres in brown with, some people call it yellow, some people call it athletic gold. But here, I'll show you this this color with brown, and then the Athletics out there as well, not with this green. This is a forest green, but with their Kelly green, which is fabulous with this yellow. And those two uniforms out there today, just they had me beaming. I hope that all the teams do that. And speaking now a little bit more about uniforms, I think that teams should. There's too many uniforms in my opinion. I think they should have 2.5 uniforms. Half, okay. The first two, they're whites at home, they're grays on the road, and then have that what I call a softball top, which is what a lot of them are wearing right now, like the A's today in Kelly green. That's their softball top in my estimation. The colored top. So, and you can wear that at home or on the road. And I think that's all you need. I really do. I guess I'm more a traditionalist, and we don't need a bunch of different uniforms and everybody wearing black sometimes. And so anyway, that's where I stand on that. Okay, I've already talked about this the automated ball strike thing with Santana, so we won't go on too much more about that. 10 seconds. Major League Baseball, as I said, they're saying maybe 17, but 10 to 15 is where I've seen it in all the games that I've noticed it today. and yesterday. Um, it's as I mentioned, the the one that Santana challenged. It was called strike. He challenged it, and it was and they showed it on the screen on the computer screen or the television screen or the screen at the park. 1.9 inches high, and with arrows on it, and they showed it with with the rectangle, and it's great. Didn't take any time at all, and I like it, especially yeah. Some of these guys that are like Santana who have a good eye at the plate. The ball's a little outside, they let it go, and they're out for strike three. Well, that's not right. I know it probably is going to hurt the pitching a little bit because pitchers like to live on the edges, and maybe these batters with good eyes are going to, they're going to trust their eyes, and if they're called out or a strike called on them, they'll challenge it, and probably be right more often than not. So we'll see where it goes. It's certainly not going to come into play in the regular season this year. It's something that they're testing out as the over the course of the preseason. It's not in every game. Not all the parks in spring training have the Hawkeye technology in the park, so they're not using it at times. But every team will have an opportunity to use it this year, and probably a lot of the minor leaguers have used it before, especially it was in AAA for I believe it was 2023 and 2024, starting as a full ABS where the umpire just relayed what Hawkeye told them, ball or strike, and the plate umpire was there more than anything to um, let everybody know what the count was, and I suppose deal with the pitch clock and all of that, all of his other duties, except he wasn't making those calls on balls and strikes. But we'll see where it goes. There was talk that maybe it won't be until the new CBA comes around and is ratified and signed, whenever that may be, and because the players will have a say in all of this as well. And finally, the last thing, and this is something for Canadian viewers, who I'm a baseball fan, but I'm a Canadian, so hockey is in my blood. During the Cubs broadcast today, they were talking with Michael Busch, the first baseman for the Cubs. He had probably batted once or twice and came out of the game, so they were interviewing him while the game was going on. We've all seen that happening in the last number of years. And I guess he was a pretty good hockey player. He might have played. He's from Minnesota, I think they said. He may have even played university hockey in Minnesota, certainly high school hockey. And he was just beaming about how well the Four Nations face-off went. And it's taken place. The Four Nations, for those of you that don't know, has replaced the All-Star game. Well, the All-Star game is just there's no hitting in the All-Star, just like the NFL football. It's very laid back, and that's why the NFL has gone to flag football. Um, we've seen what happens in the NBA. The scores are just ridiculous. There's no defense, and it's not exciting to watch as far as I'm concerned. Okay, you get a slam dunk here or there, guys shooting from center court or something. Yeah, great. But and hockey was the same. It had gone to 3-on-3, no hitting going on really, because players don't want to get hurt. But now with this Four Nations, this year's Four Nations being Canada, the United States, Sweden, and Finland, there was pride at stake, and hockey players love to play for their country. Just like the World Baseball Classic for baseball. So it was really good. There were some injuries. Charlie McAvoy from the Boston Bruins was hurt, and I saw him in a sling as he introduced the lineups in the dressing room for the American team in the final the other night. But it was great. I hope it does draw some fans in. It certainly was better than the All-Star game has typically been. So it's good to see that the NHL got some recognition from Major League Baseball and what they did. I don't know what can be done for baseball. Actually, I'm happy with the way baseball's All-Star game is. I don't usually watch the home run derby or anything like that, but I like to watch the baseball game. And I think this year, is it this year that they're going to go back to wearing their regular uniforms, like their club uniforms? And that, when I was a kid, that I just loved that, seeing all these different uniforms on the field when the players were being introduced. And the game was almost secondary. And so so now, as I say, baseball, they do well, and they're going back to what they do well. Hopefully it can match the excitement that Four Nations hockey brought about for the NHL. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Um, if you haven't hit like or subscribe, please do so. I'll talk to you again soon.